This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this is like a vitamin and supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable other excellent people like yourself to be able to find this podcast. And I'm looking for the next level leader that I could come alongside and coach and help. And if you are interested in that, just go to drronblake.com/call, drronblake/call. You'll get on my calendar, I'll give you a call, and we'll see what the possibilities are. Today I want to talk to you about developing your pace. There is always a chance that we can take on too much, too soon, too quickly, keep too many irons in the fire and become burned out. You know, pacing just really means you have to think about and plan the race before you run. Pacing really, as you know, comes from the world of not just track and field, but races. And oftentimes the person who wins the race is not the one who is fastest from the gate, or even necessarily the one who is assumed to win. It is the one who paces themselves and then has times for bursts. But as a leader, every generation and every hour has been difficult and has been challenging, but nonetheless, ours is a difficult and challenging place. For one reason is there's just not a lot of places you can go to find people who've lived through some of the things that we're going through. It's not that they've never happened in the world. It's just in our networks, we don't know many people who can help us from past experiences. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of stress and frankly, a lot of demands. I'm going to be involved in a situation tomorrow that's very sad, health-wise with some individuals. And so I understand the stress and the impact of all of this. And that is, we just have to pace ourselves. Now, there are times when you're listening to my podcast that I'm assuming you think that I am a hard driver and trying to push you. Well, just remember in pacing yourself that you don't have to meet everyone else's standards. And in certain areas, you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. But if you're going to pace yourself and you're thinking of life and your responsibility right now like a race, then you better plan it before. You don't just decide to run a marathon tomorrow having never even hardly walked out to the street corner and back. You have to train, you have to plan your eating, and it's just you have to think out, how will I make it through this part? What should my pace be for the first quarter, the first half, the third quarter, and on it goes. Pacing, when you're pacing yourself, it may mean that there'll be some people in the race who are eager and they will pass you. And there's always this internal drive to not let others pass you. It's okay if others pass you. Enjoy their success. They are running their race. You are running your race. They're running their business. You're running your business. They're managing their family. You are managing your family, your health, your finances. Don't just compare yourself to others and try to keep pace with everyone around you. As I talk about pacing yourself, I again want to go back to the running imagery, but I want you to remember life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Your business isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You're in it for the long haul. If you run too fast, too quickly, too soon, you will burn out, drop out of the race, pull up lame, whatever metaphor you want to use. So you have to pace yourself. A part of pacing now, let's go from the race to the race of life and where you are right now. One of the ways that you're going to need to pace yourself is remain calm when others aren't. Now, I just alluded to the fact that we are in a time period, and I have no idea when you're listening to this podcast, the present situation or situations may have all been rectified and passed, and that's fine, but there'll be others. But right now, I would say to you, do not give in to the hysteria and the fear-mongering that's going on. I'm a person of faith, so in this time I am really being diligent about feeding my faith and getting myself centered in the Lord. The other thing is you're going to have to turn off some of the negative voices, and I have turned the television off and some of those things. So whatever it takes for you to remain calm, do that. And pacing yourself will also be a good antidote to the fact that people will continually bring you what is urgent. And usually what happens, it's some emergency in their life that they're seeking to dump in your lap and on your desk. And often there are urgent things that I have to attend to as well as you do. But rarely are those little urgencies throughout the day and the week really all that important. If you're a leader, you tend to be a high action oriented. You have developed empathy and you care for people. You don't mind taking on more responsibilities. Therefore, you are the person who especially needs to listen to this podcast today. You have to pace yourself. You remember that it is attributed to Abraham Lincoln that if you're going to spend time cutting down a tree, a significant amount of time, I believe he said 8 hours to cut down a tree, he'd spend 6 hours getting the axe sharp. Keep yourself sharp, and that happens by pacing and by doing the things to do. Well, let's just use, as we love to do, the word pace as an acrostic, and let's go with the letter P. Priorities. In order to pace yourself, you have to have a basic understanding of what is important, what you are about, what in the position you hold needs to be done by you. Now, you'll have to put in there your relationship, your families, your spiritual life, your financial life, all of the areas of your life. But I hope you've worked your way through this exercise of determining, my leadership friend, what are your life priorities? And then as we talk continually on this podcast, break them down into bite-sized pieces, actionable items that can be done incrementally. But in order to pace yourself, part of that pacing is letting go of that which isn't significant or important or moving you forward toward your goals, toward whatever the aspirations that you have. You may need to recognize and reorient yourself to your priorities, especially in difficult days like the days we're living in. If you're going to pace yourself, you can't do everything, so you have to prioritize your priorities. Now, the A in pace is apply yourself to what you can do daily. Oftentimes, we are so focused long-term or quarterly or yearly or for the rest of your life that we forget in order to get there, it's going to come one day at a time. And in order for something to happen next quarter, next month, next year, 5 years from now, all of that is absolutely determined by what I do daily. What can be done daily? Now, you'll have fits and starts, and you'll have to practice at this, but you need to learn to break everything down into those small tasks and responsibility. Do your best to make them small enough that you can do them, but small enough that with the gift of time and over time, it will help you reach your tomorrows and be in a better place. Oftentimes, this is what happens when people begin to eliminate debt with snowball or snow avalanches. This is what happens when people begin to save a little bit for an emergency fund or begin to automate savings for retirement. And it doesn't look like much as it happens incrementally, whether it's weekly, monthly. But then you get the magic of time and compound interest, and you will wake up one day out in your future and be utterly amazed at the difference. Now, that doesn't just happen economically. That can happen spiritually, intellectually. That can happen with projects and positions. But the fact is, you can't be continually focused on what I'm going to do someday when the stars align and the kids are raised and there's enough money and everybody loves me and I have the optimal job, then I'm going to do something. None of that will ever happen because it's all based on what you are doing today. The C in PACE is continuously keep being efficient. It's not just working hard, it's working smart and working effectively. That you learn, here's something you may need to do. You're going to learn to say no. And unfortunately, it would be better if the opportunities were good and bad or perfect and horrible. That is not the case. You are even at times going to have to say no to things that in and of themselves are good and proper and not a thing wrong with it. It's just not aligned with your priorities, and you have the time that you have in order to move things forward, to take care of all of the areas of your life, and you can't take on any more at that time. Let me give you permission, not that you need it, but if you need it, here it is. It's okay to say no. I struggled mightily early in my leadership journey of trying to please people, trying to do everything that everyone wanted me to do. And it was very, very difficult to say no. You'll just have to practice that. Don't take on more than you can do. You're pacing yourself, and you must give time to your priorities, but also learn efficiencies. I'm continually looking at apps, looking at things that'll make me effective and efficient, and oftentimes they don't. And when something isn't working, I just abandon it and keep moving ahead. Even if you have to work off of a piece of paper and a pencil, just do something daily and constantly work on what is the best and most efficient use of my time, and schedule your priorities, schedule your non-negotiables, the things that you've committed to do. The E in PACE means execute, especially on the essentials. There are so many things you need to do. And let me give you what I think some of the essentials in life are. Because I'm a person of faith, I think the spiritual, do not ignore the spiritual aspect of life. It will just help you immensely. Don't cut your sleep short. Make sure that you build in time for exercise and proper nutrition. This is self-care, which is a major part of pacing yourself. You have to put fuel in. You have to rest. I continually talk about working, but understand you cannot work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You have to take recreation and rest and spend time with your family and your friends. Make sure that you're emotionally healthy. If you're angry, if you're upset, find a safe person with which to vent. Don't vent with your loved ones if they can't handle it. Find a safe person who won't judge you, but will encourage you, pray for you, and help you. I think also one of the things, if you're going to pace yourself and finish the race, you have to continually go back to what is my purpose, why am I here, and what am I supposed to be doing? And you will often have to do that. I think another part of pacing is get perspective. Yes, some are pulling ahead of you, but the race is far from over. Don't give up. Keep putting one foot in front of the other leader. Keep going. And in the midst of this pacing and keeping perspective, don't lose sight of your closest relationships. Cherish them and value them. You know, Robert Louis Stevenson, the writer, said, the person who sows hurry reaps indigestion. Now, you need to move ahead. You need to get things done. But there are a lot of people I meet that are just racing, and their arms and legs are continually moving. They're flailing through life. But at the end of the day, they really don't accomplish a whole lot. Let me also tell you, in pacing yourself, it's okay to have fun and to laugh. If you've ever worked with me or you ever haven't been around me, you'll know that though I am serious about what I'm doing, I want to have fun. And a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, and it's okay to laugh. As a matter of fact, I would say it's very, very important. So once you've committed yourself to something, pace yourself for the finish line. Remember, the race is not going to be completed today, but you're in the race to win it. But go back to your priorities and understand you have to take care of yourself in order to be there to take care of others. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this was like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review. Remember, my leadership friend, it is so true. You are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.